Hey, and welcome to the highlights of episode number 269 with Marshall Sylver. Some of my favorite parts of this episode were when he shares with us how he got his awesome title, the Millionaire Maker. And I also loved it when he spoke about the money beliefs that are holding us back and how to achieve an abundant mindset and why everyone is just one idea away from becoming a millionaire. But there is so much more wisdom, inspiration, and knowledge that you get in the full episode. So to listen to the full podcast and get all the info in the show notes, head on over to melissaambrosini.com/269 right now. Marshall, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here. So apart from being a hypnosis expert, can you tell us about your story and how you got to where you are today, doing the work that you now do, and how you became the Millionaire Maker? Like, how did this all start for you?
Those are excellent questions. Yeah, I was born into a family there's 11 kids in our family. And we were really poor, and we grew up in a very poor part of the States. We had no running water. We had no electricity. We had little, sometimes no food. Twice, our family was homeless. Second house we lived in was a converted chicken coop and had running water, had electricity. Awesome to me. But I got started as a young man with magic. I loved magic. And at 10 years old, discovered that people would pay me to do magic. And I thought, how awesome is that? I get paid to do exactly what I want to do. And as time went by, a hypnotist came to our high school, and he hypnotized me at 16 years old that when he said the words "Sonny Boy," I would stand up from my seat in the audience. I'd walk back to the stage. I'd fall on my own butt. I'd roll my pant legs up above my knees. I'd climb on his lap. I'd put my thumb in my mouth and I'd say, "Sing it again, Daddy." Well, I was extremely shy as a kid. I had a lot of social phobias because I'm wearing my sister's clothes to school every day. And so I went back to my seat in the audience, Melissa, and I said, there is no way I'm going to do this. Yet he says, "Sonny Boy." And I feel like a magnet is pulling me back to the stage. The whole time I'm coming back, I'm thinking, I don't have to do this. But I did. I got on his lap, put my thumb in my mouth, and I said, "Sing it again, Daddy." Well, I went home that night and I was thinking, was I actually hypnotized or was I just doing what he told me to do? And I thought, what if he had told you to be confident and you just became confident? What if he had told you to go out and become a multi-millionaire? And because he said that I could, I believed that I would. And I realized in that moment, if that was hypnosis, which it is, then it's one of the most powerful forces on the planet. I did some research, hypnotized a couple subjects in my teens, kind of walked away from it, but then fell back into it in my early 20s. And as they say, the rest is history. Since 23, I've been hypnotizing people, mostly in business, mostly to help them develop their finances. But also, as you mentioned, I hypnotized my wife to give birth to all three babies. Some people would say that births were conceived by hypnosis, and I wouldn't argue with that. But the first two children, my son Sterling and my son Maximus Sylver, they were born in the tub. And my beautiful bride Erica wanted to show women that they have options, that they don't have to necessarily get cut open or get a needle stuck inside of them, that they can use their mind and just relax the baby into a birth. So that's what happened there.
So what are some of the limiting money beliefs that people have that really block them? And how do you help them through hypnosis?
A lot of people spend time, Melissa, going back and attempting to figure out what was the initial sensitizing event. Where did this belief that I hold come from? And my experience, having done this for the past 34 years, is you don't really need to know the reason you do something. You just need to do it differently. And I think the biggest challenge for most people is they think there isn't enough for everybody. And so they have this underlying resentment toward people that have money. And because they have that underlying resentment toward people that have money, they don't want to resent themselves. So they continually sabotage, just throw a wrench in the gears. The other thing is our net worth is always directly tied to our own self-esteem. I am a people and a money magnet. That is not just a belief that I hold, it's a fact. And because I know that I'm a people and a money magnet and that things happen perfectly, they unfold exactly when they're supposed to, I never get anxious about it. And I think that's the biggest challenge, is that most people are anxious. If they're wealthy, they're concerned they're going to lose their money. If they're poor, they're afraid they'll never be rich. And one of the biggest things that we can do that is useful is become unattached to either state. Don't become attached to being broke. Don't become attached to being rich. Become attached to living a really good life and giving other people value, and the money follows. I think that a lot of people forget that we are how we live our life. And since our vocation ends up being a great majority of the time that we're allowed, that you need to find a vocation that you love, something that you would do even if you didn't get paid.
That sounds awesome. So, what is the key to becoming a millionaire maker, to becoming a money magnet? Is it confidence?
There's this state beyond programming. There's this state beyond belief. And it's a state that I call a certain state, a state of certainty. Certainty is the absence of doubt. And so when people approach things in a certain way, when they are certain people, they have certain relationships, they have certain births, or they are a certain millionaire, what happens is there's no doubt. And so you don't get hung up on setbacks or bumps in the road. You say, no, it's just a minor setback. Everything's unfolding perfectly. So the first thing people can do is they can be certain that they are a millionaire. And it starts at a real simple process, something I teach called psychoneuroduplication. And PND, psychoneuroduplication, has 3 steps. The first step is we must claim in a first person state who we are. So in this instance, the listeners to this podcast should say out loud, I am a millionaire. And by saying that out loud, what happens is they'll automatically start accessing the portions of their subconscious mind that are already wired to be a millionaire and start releasing the portions of their brain that have doubt around money. The second thing you do in psychoneuroduplication is you gather up the available data. And the word available is key there. So many people are paralyzed by perfectionism. It's not quite right, so they don't start their podcast. It's not quite right, so they don't publish their book. It's not quite right, so they don't go out to find the love of their life. And they're always getting ready to get ready. And so what you've got to do is gather up all the available data. And so what you do is you go hack people. You find people that are already making millions of dollars. And you say, how did you do that? And then the third step to psychoneuroduplication, step 1, you say the words, I am a millionaire. Step 2, you find millionaires. You see what they're doing. And I want to come full circle back to that in a moment. The third step is you simply act as if success is certain.
I know for me personally, and I'm curious to know if this was the case for you when you were at the beginning of your journey, I struggled with delegating because I had this belief that I was like, well, no one can do it better than me. I'm curious to know, did that happen for you when you were at the beginning of your journey? Like, did you have that belief where you thought, well, no one's going to do it better than me?
Yes. And the way you overcome that is you find 3 people that do it half as well as you. Now you're 50% ahead. And that really is something that we as entrepreneurs and business owners, we have to surrender to the fact that if that other person had the skill set and the talent that we had, they wouldn't work for us. They'd be their own business owner. And so you start accepting the fact that some people are just destined to be employees. That's where their destiny is. All of us, we are one idea away from a million or even $1 billion, just one idea. And when people can be certain of that, when they can be excited about that, then what happens is they're consistently looking for that idea. They're not beating themselves up, wishing they had more money right now. They're saying, no, I'm one idea away. What's the idea? Let me throw a whole bunch of ideas against the wall and see which one sticks. And then once again, coming back and asking, what is the highest and best use of my time? It's not in mine or yours highest and best interest of our time to do things that could be done for minimum wage. In fact, we've got to avoid minimum wage activities.
How do you know which one to action first if, say, you have 5 or 10 ideas swirling around in your head?
What I do is I like to do a couple things. I like to dovetail and stack things. So if I've got a project that seems to stand alone, yet it's somewhat related to another project, I like to figure out how can I make them work together. Money cures most things, and that most people, though, are not doing well. And so you've got to eat chicken while you're hunting elephants. And what I mean by that is you've got to do whatever you've got to do to get by, to make sure that you're fed, that you're clothed, that you're housed. But in the same time, you've also got to be looking for where's the elephant? Where's the big prey that I can find that will change everything for me?
Do you think it's appropriate to say, how do you make your money? Like a lot of people, it's a taboo topic. So like, how do you approach it?
So one of the things that I believe is absolutely when you ask somebody, you seem to be extremely successful. Do you mind me asking what you do? They're likely to want to tell you. Secondly, if you ask them, have you been successful with this? Have you made a lot of money? If you don't mind me asking, what have you earned? People that are achieving at the highest levels, they don't mind telling you. In fact, they like to tell you because that's part of the reason they achieved what they achieved was so that they can talk about it.
So I want to know, what are some of the most inspiring to you things that you've done with your money?
I in the United States, we have something called Social Security. I don't know if you have the equivalent there in Australia. And what it is, it's a fund that we pay into every time our paycheck is issued to us. A small amount is taken out of our check and given to the government. And what's supposed to happen is that when people turn 65, they start getting a check every single month. That's that money that they put in over the previous, 45 years of their life. The truth, though, two things. Number one, the money that they take out, they don't give all of it back. The government keeps a fair share of it. And frankly, here in the States, it looks like it's probably going to be eliminated altogether. And all the money that they collected, the government's just going to keep for themselves and not give any back to the citizens that actually gave it to the government under that pretense. But I was there the day that my mother got her first Social Security check from the government. I was there when I saw her look at the amount, and I was there when she started to weep. And I know what it was. She was looking at this check and she was thinking, I can't survive on this. I'm going to have to work until I drop dead. And so from that day until she passed 20 years later, I took complete and total financial care of my mother in every way. Got her a brand new car every 4 years, gave her cash every single month, took care of all of her bills, made sure she lived a really big life. And so I'm proud of that. I think that part of what I love about having money is being able to help people that just wouldn't get help in any other way. I had a student, and I don't say this. I say this only because you asked a very specific question. I had a student who had come through my seminars, and he got this thing called chronic wasting disease. It's kind of like mad cow disease. What it is, he ate bad deer meat, bad venison, and his fingers and his toes, his extremities started eating away, just started dissolving. And when he got to me, his mother had mortgaged her home. She didn't have anything left. They'd gone through all the bank accounts. And he said, I feel really bad even reaching out because I'm sure a lot of people reach out to you. And I said, they do. And he explained what was going on. He said, if you don't want to help me, I understand. But if you could help me, I would be grateful. And I believe deeply in God, and I believe in trusting intuition and trusting your gut. And in that moment, I realized that God put me in a position to do something really good for this guy. And even though it was a strong 6 figures of treatment, it certainly added a lot of years and quality to his life.
I'm curious to know, your 10 siblings, did they, because you said you were very poor when you were a child, did they have this shift in their money mindset, or did some of them not? Like, I'm curious to know how this has played out for your siblings.
That's a great question. And here's what's interesting. I have 4 brothers. I have 6 sisters. And if you took all of their wealth combined and you multiplied it by, gosh, I don't know, 100, it wouldn't come close to where I am. And I know a few things happened. Number one, I started working full time when I was 10 years old because I liked magic and we had no money. I started working full time so that I could earn money to buy magic tricks. And so it was just natural for me. I'd get out of school at 2 o'clock. I'd go over to the farm around the corner and I'd work from 2:30 until 10:30. And I would do that 5 days a week. And because of that work ethic, because I didn't see it as work, I saw it as a life. And I never had to ask my mom for anything. In fact, as I was growing up, my mother would, quote unquote, borrow money from me because I was the only child that was actually working and earning money. The other thing, though, is I have a couple of brothers for sure that my wealth has become their resentment. That because we grew up together and because we all had the same opportunities, I took some very different paths. They took very secure paths where they had a 9 to 5 job and they keep going back to work every single day. And I always took risks. I always said, no, I'm gonna find what I love first and foremost. I'm never gonna have a job. And the second thing is I'm going to take big risks because I believe there's a big win here. Now, taking big risks, there's the opportunity for big losses. And if you take any venture capitalist investor, let's say they have $100 million to invest, they put $10 million into 10 different companies, 9 of those companies are going to go bankrupt. They're going to lose $90 million. And people ask, well, then why in the world would they invest that $100 million? It's because the 10th company that they put $10 million into becomes worth billions. That's why they do it. And so it's got to be in our psyche to know that we've got to throw a lot of noodles against the wall until one sticks. You've got Amazon as a good example. Jeff Bezos lost billions with a B, billions of dollars when he first launched the company. And now inside of 20 years, at least the documented people, he's one of the wealthiest people on the planet. And again, it's that thing of certainty. It's coming back to knowing this thing that I'm doing has value. This thing that I do serves other people. Therefore, I know they're going to want it. And you just keep swinging the bat until you connect.
What do you attribute your success to? If you could, narrow it down to one thing, and everyone has a different definition of success. So, what do you attribute yours to?
I want to define success as it is for me, at least. Success for me is love, truth, and joy. It comes from a place of love. There's only two emotions. There's either fear or love. Love is an expansion. Fear is a contraction. Truth being it's not fabricated. It's real. It's what is. It's not my trance or my hypnosis or my denial. It's real. And then the final thing though, joy makes me feel good. So, like I said, the most important thing, it's Thanksgiving here in the United States, the day that we celebrate that the pilgrims came from England over to the United States. And so my family we always talk about gratitude because that which we focus on expands. The rich do get richer. We just got to acknowledge that we're rich today, even if we don't have two nickels to rub together. We were talking about what we're grateful for. And of course, the first thing I'm most grateful for is my wife and my children. The other thing I'm grateful for is health. I'm grateful that God has shown me how to create prosperity. I'm grateful for that. I'm at my beach house in Southern California. Our main house is in a town called Las Vegas, Nevada. That's where our main residence is. And, we fly all over the world, mostly in private jets. We celebrate our lives. We live exactly like we want to. And I think that the best thing people can do, number one, get to gratitude as quickly as they can. I'm positive that persistence pays off. So do not give up. Yet do not give up and also be joyful in that process. I was very poor growing up. I did a couple of things that made me many, many, many millions of dollars. I was very foolish. I thought that the faucet on the tub was going to stay open. I didn't realize somebody turned the faucet off and I hadn't put a plug in the bottom because I didn't realize I was going to need to. And so I lost all that, became poor again. Well, I got rich again because I knew that I could. I married the wrong person, got very poor again, and then I got wealthy all over again. And then I met my bride. And then in 2007, 2006, 2007, the economy in the United States tanked, just went flat. And I had a lot of real estate holdings that went upside down. And so I went fairly south again. And my beautiful bride said to me, we'd been together for a little while. She said to me, sell everything. We don't need two houses. We certainly don't need six cars. Let's sell both houses. Let's go find a one bedroom apartment for me and the boys and you, and we'll live simply. And I looked into her eyes and I realized in that moment that she wasn't with me for the money. And my own belief on a subconscious level, there was some part of me that wanted to know that she loved me and that if things got bad, she wouldn't take the kids and run. And she proved that. And so more than ever right now, I'm positive all things are temporary. We've got to find joy in the worst of circumstances, or we'll never find joy in the best of circumstances. If you can't appreciate the fact that you may be eating ramen or mac and cheese, except you're eating something, be grateful for that. And then on the days that you're not eating, be grateful that you're alive to not eat.
What are you working on or would like to improve within yourself at the moment? Because I feel like, we're always growing and we're always evolving. That's why we're here on Earth. So, what's something that you're working on right now?
My babies are 8, 6, and 4. And I'm 57. I turned 60 in May. And I really never realized how fast time was going by. Do you have kids?
I have a 13-year-old bonus son.
Then, well, I'm sure even with the bonus son, you realize it's a blink. And kids are such a barometer of how fast time goes by. And so for me, I am doing everything I can to make sure that my wife is plenty provided for, that my kids have great knowledge of how to make their world happen on purpose. So we've acquired the first of what will be many worldwide certainty centers. And the certainty center is a place where people can go and be entertained, except it's entertainment with a purpose. And so they'll go in on, say, Friday and Saturday nights, and they'll see a show of certainty, which is a hypnotic show with different semantics. And at the end of doing all these amazing things, the performer will say, hey, if you love what you saw, and I know that you did, and you want to know how to apply this technology, certainology in your own life to have better relationships, to have more money, to have emotional, mental, physical well-being, come on back on Tuesday night. We'll teach you how we did it. And then they'll come back on Tuesday for free, and they'll learn some powerful things that will also inspire them to want to see what other courses we have for sale and other programs that they can take. On the weekends, on Saturday and Sunday in the afternoon as a matinee, there'll be a show called Kid Show. It's a magic show for kids of all ages. And it'll start with my kids starring in the show. And it's a magic show it's a grandiose illusion show for everybody. Adults are going to love it. Kids are going to love it. Yet toward the end of the show, my sons will walk out and they'll say, "Hey, if you loved what you saw, we just want to tell you, you don't have to wait to be an adult to start your own business. We started our own business here. We're making more money than most adults make on a regular basis doing what we love. If you'd like to learn as a kid how you can start making money and doing what you love, come on back on Tuesday afternoon after school, and we're going to do a class called the Young Entrepreneur Society."